It was quite a ride, but that ride has ended. 2024 done for LAFC. Mario Ruiz, Dave Denholm with you. This is LAFC Plus, episode 41 and done for LAFC. Unfortunately, Mario, all good things come to an end. Tough way to go out, but there's only one MLS Cup winner, as we know, every year, and everybody else is going to go home upset, right?
Yep, that's true. Yeah, just trying to move on. Just trying to move on like you, Davey, and probably the players and the coaches and all the fans out there just trying to move on, staying off of social media because those videos do pop up on my Instagram and I just kind of like skip through them because, sometimes you get caught up watching videos of the game and you're kind of like feeling like, oh, that if that one would have went in, it just makes it hurt that much more
exactly.
To see how close we were. So just trying to move on.
Yeah, definitely. Yep, we will get to all that. No doubt that Aaron Long bicycle kick comes to mind. Honestly, that was a good save by Stephen Fry.
That's one of them.
One of the best bicycle kick attempts all season in all of MLS by Aaron Long, and just wasn't our day. Let's be honest. Yeah. It went the way of Seattle Sounders 2-1. The final. Welcome to LAFC Plus. By the way, we'll get to the rest of the LAFC playoff matchup, but all reliving the whole season. Then we'll look ahead a little bit. And we'll take a look at the rest of MLS, of course, the plus in LAFC Plus. But LAFC do lose at home to Seattle Sounders 2-1. It turns out, Mario, it's hard to beat a team 5 times in 1 year, right? We had 4 and had outscored them by a bushel full to, Seattle scored more goals in that game on Saturday than they had against LAFC all season long. So in terms of 4 games total. So it just wasn't to be. Extra time loss. Jordan Morris with the goal in the 109th minute. And Mario, it's funny. Let's go through it a little bit. LAFC get the first goal in the 50th minute, right? Tough first half. Yeah. Kind of back and forth, feeling each other out.
Very tight.
Then Ryan Hollingshead with the finish. How did you feel after that goal? Honestly, were you like thinking it was done? It was going to be another Seattle's going to full, wilt now kind of thing? They just won't be able to get it back together?
Honestly, Dave, I was thinking another professional win, another game where LAFC controls the match by not really having that much possession, but also Seattle, the opponent, not having very many chances and just controlling the match like that. A 1-0 win, is something that we've been used to. A 2-1 win, something we're used to. Just having a very professional win. I thought that's where we were headed.
Yeah, I would agree. And I'll tell you this, look. This is not easy to say about Seattle because they are a great organization, but earlier this year, and I know they're different types of games. These are playoffs. They're playing better going into this match, certainly. But earlier this year, they fell apart after we scored. And we were beating them 3-0, not 1-0. The U.S. Open Cup at Starfire was a little different, kind of tight game. But Leagues Cup, MLS, yes, the first game of the year was 2-1 LAFC, but we dominated that game. It was so long ago. That's like a different season ago, admittedly. But they would fall apart earlier in the year when LAFC scored. And to my surprise, they did not. And I guess I'm not that surprised by it. Again, they were having a good run, and they're playing well, and they deserve to be where they're at. But they did not panic. I thought initially, I thought if LAFC were to hold on to that 1-0 lead a little longer too, who knows, right? Maybe then things. But it wasn't – like the Sounders went right back on the attack and did put pressure on, but of course it's an own goal. Obviously Maxime Chanot would love to have that back. I don't think he knew that he had that much time. It happened fast, so maybe people didn't have a chance to communicate the fact that he had time behind him. He was thinking he had to clear it out, but that's the way it goes. It's but I give credit to the Sounders. They didn't panic. And they had, most people would say, well, of course the Sounders aren't going to panic. They're like a great organization. No, they've kind of blown up when LAFC score on them first, usually. So that was different in this time. And again,
LAFC didn't panic either.
Part of it.
When they had the own goal, LAFC did not panic. There were a lot of chances there for LAFC. LAFC had 27 shots on 27 shots, 10 on goal, and 11 corners. 11 corners for LAFC. But you just got to be more clinical with those finishes. A couple of those need to find the back of the net. When you have that many shots, you need to find the back of the net. In Seattle, only with 7 shots on target and just 4 corners. And LAFC just almost played a perfect game defensively. It really should have ended in a 1-0 professional win. But that's how the MLS Cup playoffs are sometimes, So unfortunately, the own goal happened there.
Yeah, that was a sweet goal if you're a neutral. If you don't care who wins, that Jordan Morris goal was really nice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was a great finish. But that's another thing, too. Not all 10 shots on goal games are equal. LAFC, right. Yeah, Stephen Fry had a couple of good saves. But it wasn't like he didn't stand on his head like Brad Guzan did against Inter Miami or Brad Guzan did against us in the past. Like he didn't stand on his head like some guys have done against us, where including Stephen Fry in games way back in the day where they're making like 7 great saves in one match. Like you just can't like possibly beat him on that day. It wasn't like that either. A lot of the shots were like right to Stephen Fry. So it wasn't a great finishing day for LAFC. Realistically,
he did have a quick reaction save on Hollingshead. That was a header.
Yeah, he had a couple good
second
saves,
goal.
yeah.
That one, the save on Aaron Long was a big one. He had a big one on Bogusz as well. The kick save on Bogusz. So he did play a big part in that win. Definitely kept him in the game.
But it's not like the 10 shots on goal were, oh my gosh, we should have scored 7 goals and it should have been 7-1 and been over with and all. I mean, yeah, they were good saves, and yes, LAFC put pressure on. But I don't think Seattle were like overrun by us, if you know what I mean. Like where it was just like, oh my gosh, how did we lose this match? There have been a few of those. Every team goes through that, where you're just like, how did we possibly not score 6 goals and win 6-0 in this game? And it ended up 0-0 or something, where you're just like, oh my goodness, that should have been like, you can't look back at this match, honestly, if you're being honest, and say like LAFC were so much better than Seattle on that given day. They weren't, and Seattle deserved to win. They finished the one chance they had late, and they deserve to move on. Unfortunately, I mean, it's just the break sometimes in professional sports. You're not going to win every game, and we know that. But
yeah,
now we have to turn the page, Mario. First, looking back, let's turn back a few pages, and yeah, we're bitterly disappointed, of course. But now we have a few, couple days between. Had some time to settle down, cry, metaphorically cry it out of us, get it over with. And now we can look back on a season, Mario, that I think was very good. I mean, 2 finals, 1 trophy, winning the Western Conference, to get the number 1 seed didn't work out, but that it was a good season.
Yeah, it was. And as many games that LAFC played in this season, which was 50 games, and combine that with last season where LAFC played 53 games, that's over 100 games in just 2 years, Dave. And that being said, I don't think the guys were tired heading into this last game over the weekend. The guys were not really on fumes. The guys were there. They were there for it. That's why it's such a disappointment. I think it's just such a letdown at the very end, because it was a good year, and to have that opportunity right in front of you, just right there to host again, and to have the top 3 teams on the East. Everybody was talking about Inter Miami so much, and just to have the opportunity to lift another trophy in this year, which we already have lifted the US Open Cup trophy. To top it all off would have been just the icing on the cake with the MLS Cup. That's why I think this one really, really hurts even more.
Yeah, I would agree. There's no doubt about that. And they'll think about it longer because of that, I think. I think the team, the organization will have to think about it longer because of that. This was a golden opportunity. And, people can sit back and say, well, it doesn't, those things don't really change anything. If Inter Miami and Columbus lose, that's on them. Yes, we became the number 1 seed, but we still have to. No, it does change things. It changes expectations, right? It does put more pressure on you, maybe for the worse, maybe for the, maybe sadly it does do that, but it did. We were all thinking it. Any LAFC fan, realistically, anybody in the organization was probably, you should be thinking it. We have a chance to host all the way now. I mean, we said it on this show. Of course, you have to. But again, if Inter Miami was still in it, would I feel less bad about? No. It's still losing in the playoffs. It still hurts, I understand there's I guess technically you lost more, I guess, but you still lost the same opportunity to win a trophy no matter what. And that is
Ryan Hollingshead talked about, he's talked about how good this season was and how it didn't end the way they wanted, but it doesn't end in a disappointment. Here's Ryan Hollingshead after the game.
Yeah, it's so hard to say because, of course, we've brought the first championship here. We've won the Open Cup, so two big titles that the club hadn't had before. The club is still so young. So it's hard to say, like, you can't just, say one or the other. It's not black or white. It's like, was this a good season or was this a bad season? I think there was some big moments where the team stepped up and put trophies into our case, and then there's other moments where we want more, and we're putting ourselves in really good chances to win trophies, and especially last year, and came up short in a lot of those. And so I don't think you can say, yeah, it's black or white. There's a gray area there, and I think the standard we've set for ourselves here is a good one, which is we want to win everything. And so, there's teams across this league that say it, and everybody knows it's impossible. They're not actually pushing to try to win every trophy, and we're a club and a team that said it and feels like we should be actually in that conversation every time. So, yeah, this feels like a big time letdown, and the road of having home games to through the MLS Cup is just so disappointing. So it's going to be a hard one to swallow for a while, and we got to come back and do it again, and I know the club will. The club will do everything they can to put us in another position to come back and do it again.
Can't argue with that. We've seen it time and time again, Mario.
Yeah, and after such a successful calendar year, not just in MLS, where you finished top of the West, but making it to the League's Cup final, winning the U.S. Open Cup trophy for the first time in club history, and adding that piece of hardware to the trophy cabinet, and to make that early exit at the MLS Cup playoffs at this stage doesn't do justice to all the work and all the accomplishments that the team had this season. Hopefully the guys remember this feeling right here that everybody's feeling over the weekend and use that for motivation on all off season and bring it into training camp in 2025.
Well, funny you should mention that. What now for 2025 is the next thing I have written down here we got to get to, because we'll turn the page on 2024. I agree with Ryan. I don't think it's like good or bad. Like oh, this was a bad season. Oh, this was a great season. They won a trophy. It was a good season, and they had some good moments. But you have to look at it from a holistic perspective in terms of now what do we do with 2025? First things first, when you lose in MLS, you don't have much time to think about it because you got a few days. We do these shows on Monday generally each week, LAFC Plus. Welcome if this is your first one, episode 41, where you been? But no, we do these every Monday, and people are going to listen to them or watch it on YouTube at a different time, right? Maybe they can't. So maybe these decisions will have already been made by the time you watch this. But decisions have to be made pretty quick when you lose in MLS. Like when you're out in MLS, you have to start making your roster decisions. That includes free agents. Now, LAFC doesn't decide that. These players have earned the right in terms of their commitment to the league and how long they played to be free agents now at some certain points, and some of them are. They get the choice, right? So even if LAFC wants to say bring back Aaron Long, and let's say he's their number one, we want him more than any player in the world, he still has the right, earning as a free agent, to say, well, I want to go somewhere else potentially. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just using Aaron just because he's one of the names on the list. He may well stay the rest of his career with with LAFC. But you get my point. So LAFC doesn't really have all the power in that sense. Now, with a free agent, you don't also have to make them an offer either. Like if in theory, if you want to move on, we all know this. But so we have some free agents that are going to make their choices. Jesus Murillo, Aaron Long among them, a couple other, we know, most people will know the names. But then you got the January transfer window, of course, which is a little different in MLS in the sense that other leagues are trying to bolster that last run, kind of like our summer window, but we're trying to build for a whole new season. So who knows what's going to happen there? I know the rumors are out there. We all know the names, right? Or the name. We'll see how that all plays out. And then, Mario, I think you also have to look at guys who, and this is what we're going to talk about, I think, is the players who need to step up or are going to step up. In other words, maybe they get more playing time. Maybe it's just the age thing where it's their career is developing in a certain way. And I think that list has to start with David Martinez, right?
Oh, yeah. A lot of excitement around him. I know you're excited. I'm excited just like you, Dave.
Yeah. I agree. It's not because, I think David, honestly, genuinely had a great year in the sense of the building. It was, he got injured. People forget this. These seasons are long. He got a bad red card, had to learn a lesson there. But as he got a back injury, which is never a great thing. So that always, you never know, it's kind of hit or miss. You don't know. So it took a while, but I think he had a phenomenal year. Realistically, the trajectory is definitely on the climb. And I think it's going to be a case where he's going to have a big 2025. I really do.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right, Dave, and I think he will. And I think another person that we got to look at is Olivier Giroud. Olivier Giroud came in towards the middle of the season, towards the end of the season, and had to click right away. It didn't really click right away, so he's still working on that. And I think LAFC is still working on that, making that fit. I think with the offseason here and coming in with the full preseason, he'll be able to come in and hit the ground running. And I think we'll see Olivier, continue to do what he's doing with making, the great passing, setting guys up, but also racking up some goals of his own. And, you just got to come back bigger, better, faster, stronger for 2025, which is going to be another huge year. I mean, of course, we always talk about LAFC wanting to win all the trophies, all the different tournaments. And this year coming up in 2025, LAFC is back in the Concacaf Champions. So you have a tournament there. Where that's going to be priority for LAFC next year. And it's a trophy that LAFC has not won yet so far. It's not in the trophy cabinet yet. And that's a big one. And I think LAFC has a very good base to build on for next season. We know the challenges that MLS teams have when they're trying to build their rosters and the salary cap and how that is structured. So Steve and the management there, the front office, they have a real obstacle there, some challenges there, but I think they'll get the job done.
And by the way, the Concacaf Champions Cup trophy is big enough on its own, but it also gets you in the Club World Cup. If you win that, it also gets you that dangling carrot out there, that big prize. So it's big enough on its own. You shouldn't even be thinking about anything but just winning the Concacaf Champions Cup. And yet, in the back of your mind, it also is, oh, by the way, it qualifies you for the Club World Cup. And I mean, that's just on another. I mean, I can't even wrap my head around that, Mario. I get too excited thinking about that. I can't. Look, the Sounders, all credit to them. They're still in the MLS Cup playoff. They're going to be playing in that next summer, of course, because they won the Concacaf Champions Cup back a few years ago. And all the teams from Mexico
a team that won
winning
every single trophy there is to win.
Yeah, I mean,
that's right.
Those teams that are qualified from Mexico, by the way, most of them qualified through the Concacaf Champions Cup. You're not winning Liga MX and going necessarily. I mean, some, just like Inter Miami qualified because, we're hosting and it's the, supporter shield and they had the best year ever in MLS. But you got to win Concacaf Champions Cup. That's the bottom line. And if we're in it, we got to win it. And that's a great point. But I'll tell you this about David Martinez, and I don't say this stuff lightly. I'm not on here to jock my way around or anything. You know that. I have some opinions that are strong. Sometimes they don't always come to fruition. I said the Dodgers would sweep the Yankees. I'm an idiot. I was off by a game. How dare I? I don't know anything about baseball.
We'll let you slide on that.
Martinez, as I watch his game, people are going to freak out. Now, obviously, Lionel Messi's on a different level. He is as talented or more talented than any player in MLS. Now, he's only 18. But if you see the little thing, and again, not Messi, okay? It's a different, obviously. I'm not comparing him to Lionel Messi. Messi doesn't count in this argument. So he's the second most talented player in MLS, in my opinion. There, I said it. Does that mean he's going to be the best player? No, you got to go out and do it. You got to keep getting better if you're 18, right? That's the progression of a sport, and a progression of a young player. I mean, but he is... Yeah, I mean, to me, I don't see anybody more talented than him in MLS. Just the physical talent.
You said it, Dave. He has to go out there and do it, right? Because you see the tools. We all see the tools. He has them. But he has to go out there, start playing full 90 minutes, then go out there, and play a full season, So he's got to go out there and do it and show it on a game-to-game basis.
Absolutely.
And that's what we haven't seen yet, but we look forward to that. We see the potential there.
Because I'm just talking about like the movement, the vision, the skills, Yes. Like, there's nobody more skilled, again, besides Lionel Messi. He's got it all. He does. And I can see why LAFC was so, inspired and so hot after him. And A lot of other teams were, and he was talked about as one of, obviously just a generational talent for Venezuela, potentially. I see it. We all do.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm making any big, proclamation here, other than I can see a path forward if he continues to improve where, the sky's the limit, man. This guy is...
He's exciting to watch, Dave. He can dribble you. He can finish with the left foot, of course. He can make the pass for the assist. He can do it all, Dave. It's just a matter of going out there and doing it game to game.
Yeah, there's names that have been floated around for potential signings for LAFC that do they kind of bump into each other, maybe on the pitch? Maybe. We'll have to figure that out, of course. And there's going to be names that are bigger names than David Martinez, as much as we love David. He's got all the, so yes, but I would have no problem if I'm an MLS team, in this case, LAFC, if I have a player with that skill, even at 18, if he can handle it emotionally, mentally, I got no problem giving him the keys to the kingdom and letting him do it. It's a young man's sport, and that doesn't mean older guys can't do it, but there's no such thing as too young. Who's the best player at Barcelona right now? What is he, 12? No, I'm kidding. But, Lamine Yamal is barely, 17, 18? He's a kid. So if you're good enough, you deserve whatever and that's how I feel about David Martinez. I really do. And again, that's going to be a big part of 2025 with all those games Mario is talking about playing in the Concacaf Champions Cup. I suspect we don't know what MLS will do, Mario, but we probably will have a chance to be in the US Open Cup again, right? To defend your title, you would think.
You would think so, yeah.
In all likelihood, let's say if MLS teams participate, we hope they do, then you would assume LAFC would be one of them.
Yeah, let the champ come in and defend it. Yep.
Yeah, you would hope. And that's a lot of games we're going to be playing and Concacaf Champions Cup because of when it is, and then the US Open Cup and leagues. The whole year is packed, not just does that make sense? You know what I mean? We didn't have Concacaf Champions Cup. So the first part of the year wasn't that, crushed with games. It got crazy, obviously, and it will, but this year could be another 2023 where it's just insanity from minute one, so we'll see.
Of course, this year, 2024, LAFC made it to the final of Leagues Cup, final of US Open Cup, deep run in the playoffs. So it was a bunch of games. So that also comes into play where if you're making deep runs in these different tournaments like LAFC is trying to do every single tournament, they want to win it. So they do make the deep runs. Some teams can pick and choose which tournament they want to try to go for. So they have an early exit in certain tournaments and then they get the break and they get the rest and it's not as congested. But for LAFC, it feels like every single year is congested. And for this year, of course, we have no choice but to look forward to a team that really has a good base, I think, to build from and to build around. And Steve Cherundolo was talking about that too after the game as well.
Unfortunately, we can't evolve teams the way we want. In this league, there are many obstacles due to rosters and rules, regulations, all of the above. So it's you can't build on something and just keep adding ornaments and pieces to improve. When you want to improve in certain areas, you might have to let other areas go. And so it's always about managing the balance of that and obviously figuring out the finances of it all. We feel like we're in a good spot to improve this team for next year, which was the complete opposite of last season. We started off with a very, very thin roster and ended up adding later, but we feel good where we're at right now and how we'll start next season, and we're looking forward to fielding a stronger team next year than we did.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to next year, Dave, with the Coca Champions. Honestly, that's at the top of the list for me. I know that's at the top of the list for the organization as well. Right away, get right back into some really serious tournament play.
I couldn't agree more. And also, it does make John Thornton's job more interesting, as if he needs any more stress. But it's like, do you wait till the summer to add players? Sometimes teams do that. Sometimes LAFC has done that, right? Where you see
we know JT, though. We know JT, he is a gamer. He wants to win everything.
But my point is, though, you got to come into CONCACAF Champions Cup strong. Now, it might not be the end roster, the final roster. You're not going to necessarily plant everybody on the roster in January. But if you can get a big signing, Like, and it's kind of like, do we wait? Do we not? Well, we got CONCACAF Champions Cup. Let's bring that guy. We'll see. I mean, like, that does have to be a factor now that you've qualified for it. Because again, you're not going to qualify for it every year necessarily. No team, So it does change.
I always look forward to when they do the draw, when we see the draw, and then we see which opponent it's going to be. Maybe it's not one of the heavier hitter teams. Maybe it's one of the lower teams.
Anybody but Vancouver. Good gosh, anybody but Vancouver.
You are so right.
I'm not afraid of it. This is not what I mean by that. Of course, we'll beat Vancouver I would almost withdraw from the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Not literally, I'm joking, but it's like, okay, we forfeit. We don't want to play them anymore. It's boring. We're tired of it. But I got a bad feeling that's what's going to happen. We'll play stinking Vancouver in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Anybody but Vancouver, just for the thrill of it. I'd rather go to one of those teams that has to play on like a big, they have to play in the Dominican because they don't have, or something, or I'd rather go play a team we never played. In other words, like somewhere that's maybe, some team from Belize or I don't know, whatever, just making it up. Of course, but
Jamaica.
Anybody but Vancouver. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but it's going to be an amazing year. We're looking forward to it already, but I love this. I love the off season. Not because I'm glad we lost. Of course, you want to win MLS Cup, then go into the off season. Yes. But there is no off season, really. There is no such thing in sports anymore. Not just, MLS, but not just for LAFC, but that's the beauty of it. Well, who's coming in? The rumors. I love rumors. I don't even care if they turn out to not be true, because most of the time there's a little smoke to every rumor, whether there's fire in the end or not. And it's fun. Right. I don't care. And we're not going to pander to rumors on this show. Obviously, that's not our thing. We're not doing that kind of thing, but I love reading about them. I love hearing of them, no doubt. I'm an average sports fan. I love that stuff. So it's all fun. And then the schedule release, as you talked about, like CONCACAF, the draw, all those kind of things. When I'm like a kid on Christmas morning when the MLS schedule is released, Mario, because obviously I start making plans. Of course, we have to make plans for our broadcast, but just even as a fan, like when's the first Galaxy game? When are we going to play San Diego FC?
Yeah.
When are we going to who's our Eastern Conference teams that we play? Where, we'll have 3 at home, but where are we going to next year? What
we got to do, Dave, is we got to do that episode right there of LAFC Plus. When the schedule comes out, we'll do a LAFC Plus special podcast episode of just the schedule release. And we'll pick and choose all these different games and get pumped for the season.
I'd love to, I don't know. I'd love to see if we go to Montreal maybe or something, like a city that's an incredible city too.
Is Miami coming here? We're going to Miami. Do we play them?
Good point. Yeah. That's a great point, because obviously
San Diego, what's their schedule look like? Yeah.
Yeah, we've gotten little pieces of that, but let's move around the rest of MLS. Obviously, we'll keep talking about LAFC, throughout the whatever. But Mario, your thoughts on that Galaxy thrashing of Minnesota on Sunday?
I guess Ricky Puig was wrong to complain about the layoff, the 3-week layoff, because they just came out and just 30 seconds into the game, they racked up a goal right away, and they didn't look back ever since that. So, wow, they look like they're just picking up right where they left off, aren't they, Dave?
Yeah, they move the ball around. That's what they do. They don't they don't sit. They're not very patient. Not that that's a bad thing, obviously, at times. If you can do it. And they push, they prod, they poke. They're looking for every excuse to get forward. They're looking for every excuse to try that pass, whatever that is. They're looking for every opportunity to take players on. Now, look, they haven't scored 6 goals a match. Obviously, they've been going crazy in the playoffs. And who knows? Maybe there's something about how the other teams are approaching them, trying to be more defensive. I thought Minnesota had a nice response, right? Early. I mean, they give up a goal 30 seconds in, and all of a sudden it's 1-1, in the 6th or whatever minutes. So I thought, well, okay. And then even 2-1, but then it's 3-1, but they get a goal right before halftime on a deserved penalty, an obvious call, and it's 3-2. And then you're like, well, maybe the Galaxy will fall apart, fine. Nope. Yeah. They just keep coming, and I know the red card, the game got out of hand very late, but it was it was, a Galaxy domination, and whether it was 6-2
this is who
or
the
4-2,
Galaxy are, though, right, Dave? I mean,
Yeah.
you can score on the Galaxy. You can
Yes.
score on. They leave themselves vulnerable sometimes, but they're gonna put up a lot of goals, and they know that. They know
Yeah.
exactly who they are. You can't score 5 or 6 goals and not concede as well. You're gonna concede a couple of goals. I mean, the Galaxy
Well,
has
look,
15 goals in just 3 postseason games. They need 2 more goals, and they tie the postseason record, which was set by Toronto in 2016. And they've done it in 3 games. And Toronto did it in 6 games.
If you look at the teams that are out there,
Yeah.
obviously playing Seattle in the Western Conference Final, well, we don't have to
That'll be different for them.
break it down too much. But that's the only team left, to me, that could still beat the Galaxy 1-0 somehow. Now, doubt it. I don't see it happening that way. I can't believe that the Galaxy will be shut out. But theoretically, Seattle maybe could be the one out of the other 2, Orlando and New York Red Bulls. I just don't see how they could beat the Galaxy right now, either one. Of course, they could pull an upset on a game. You know what I'm saying? But like all things being equal, as we look at it, but Seattle's the last team that maybe could somehow stand on their heads defensively, and the Galaxy have a bad day, and Stephen Fry makes big saves. But otherwise, you're going to have to beat this team 4-3. Now, you can, potentially. That's how they're going to have to lose. If the Galaxy are going to be beat, right, we all have to assume that now it's going to be 4-3 or 5-4 or 4-4, and it goes to penalties somehow or something. I mean, it's just a crazy day at Dignity Health.
You never know. That Seattle defense is very tough. They conceded the fewest goals
what I'm saying.
in the season. So I don't
They're
know
the only
if
team
Galaxy's
that can
going to
do it
rack up
now.
that many.
Yeah, LAFC could have, although our games are usually crazy, although they've kind of, obviously that second half, the Galaxy poured it on us. But in general, the games have kind of, between LAFC and LA Galaxy, have kind of gotten a little tighter defensively. I think the teams are just getting better defensively, even though the offenses are obviously still good. Because, LAFC beat the Galaxy at the Rose Bowl 2-1, in other words, stuff like, and the other victory, they're tighter. But now, the way the Galaxy are playing and the confidence they have, you're just not beating them 1-0. Obviously, this is not.
But
this
Seattle
is also
a team
going to win MLS Cup, Mario. I hate to say this right now. They are winning. They're going to win the
Seattle's
Cup.
a team that will take advantage of those mistakes that Galaxy make defensively as well. So you could find a goal there for Seattle. And Galaxy do have home field advantage in this one. I do see that. That's a big part coming into play in this one. And whoever wins this one, Dave, is going to host the MLS Cup final. Seattle,
but Mario, I don't know how
Galaxy.
Seattle's going to have more than 35% of the ball either. How are they going to get the ball away from the Galaxy for any stretch of time? Now, yeah, they can take advantage of mistakes if the Galaxy fall over themselves, again, which they could defensively at times. But they're not going to have 50% of the ball to do it. They're not going to break down the Galaxy. Like, yes, you can get a goal or 2 and maybe 3 or 4, who knows? But you're not going to have the ball enough to pass your way through the Galaxy and break them down consistently for 20-minute stretches or anything. It's pandemonium out there right now. You can't. You're not keeping the ball away from Ricky Puig and those guys up front. They're just.
But Seattle sticks to their game plan. They stuck to their game plan against LAFC. They knew they were going to get many chances. They weren't going to get any at all. And they did get an own goal, and then that gave him life. And then Jordan Morris, of course, puts them away with one chance.
They don't have enough offense to beat the Galaxy. I'm sorry. They just don't. It's a different kind of game when you're playing LAFC. Maybe, we're not going to be out there trying to score 5 goals a game necessarily either. And, Seattle feels more comfortable playing that way maybe, or it's just matchups. We know this, fights, styles, right? Like we talk about. This is not a good matchup for Seattle. I mean, it's not a really great matchup for anybody right now, the way the Galaxy are playing. And believe me, look, everybody knows me. Used to be a Galaxy fan way back, season ticket holder. Things went awry for me. Whatever. We don't have to get into that. I love LAFC. And this pains me to say it now. The Galaxy are going to win. They're going to win MLS Cup. I think they're the clear-cut favorite. None of these teams can hang with them. I mean, that's just a cold, hard fact. You have to look at it that way. Now, if they don't, this is on the Galaxy. In other words, like this is all theirs now to win. Everybody's plopped it in their lap, including us, right? Because we would have had the home field against Columbus, would have had the home field against them. Inter Miami, we've plopped it in their lap, and if they don't win, it's all on them. That's the bottom. They are the best team left.
I do give Seattle a more than a fighter's chance, just because of their head coach and the way they stick to their game plan, the way they play in playoff games. They're very, very hard to knock out. That defense, a hot goalkeeper like Stephen Fry, I do give them a little bit of a chance.
Mario, it's not the biggest upset in the world of Seattle. No, it's not even the biggest upset the last 2 weeks in MLS, of course. I mean, it's not like Seattle, of course, could. They are that good. Yes, you're 100% correct. But it's just my opinion, like I'm just looking at it, like I just don't see how anybody's going to stop this offense. The way Minnesota's a pretty good team. I mean, they've been playing really well, and they had no answers. Like once they turned that key, on that ignition, it was just, and it wasn't just the 30 seconds in. Of course, that's a tough way to start a match. But again, Minnesota was tied after 6 minutes. It wasn't like they were down 5-0 and it became a 6-2 game in the end. Like this was not like it just kept coming. I mean, the wave of offense hey, look, again, we're not happy to say these kind of things, Mario. That Ricky Puig first pass on that goal was absurd.
I was thinking the same thing. That was ridiculous. I mean, you can't put a
we used to do let him cook a while back. Holy cow! I mean that
I don't see how he had the vision to even make that play from so far back and to hit it like that with the Travella pass. Oh my goodness, that was just ridiculous.
It's not a stretch to say the kid came from Barcelona, but I'm not saying he fits every team's style. That's a different argument. This guy can play anywhere. I mean, he's world class. He'd make
every team better.
He's world class now. I mean, he really is. Are there some holes in his game? Yes, he's not going to defend very. So what? I'm sick of that. I always say my joke is in America, if Messi would have been born in America, his under 12 coach would have been like, well, he doesn't defend enough. We're not going to play. I mean, it's just stupid stuff. Like, I mean, so what if Ricky Puig doesn't defend? He's world class, can play anywhere on any pitch, and that's not going to be easy to stop. Now, you can, and we have. So you're right. Seattle has a shot, of course. They got a puncher's chance, but I mean, and so does Orlando, and the Red Bulls are not easy to break down either. I mean, in theory, but I'm just saying there is a clear-cut hierarchy out of these final four teams. Quite frankly, if we'd have beaten Seattle, I mean, the Galaxy would have been a brutal game. That would be an amazing Western Conference final. But we would have been the clear favorite at home, like even amongst the four teams. But now it's just like the Galaxy at home. Nobody's beaten them there this year. Why would anybody assume anybody is going to? Frankly, and you look at those Eastern Conference games, nice wins. Both teams deserved it, but they're not on the level of the Western Conference. Not the teams that are left. No way. I mean, it's not even close,
I really feel bad for Atlanta because they did not stand a chance in that game with Tiare. He gets chopped down in the 25th minute on that play, and then the ref didn't even call anything on that one. And then he could not recover. He had to come off. And then his replacement Rios comes on, and then he comes off because he got a head injury. The ball ricochets off the side of his head just a couple seconds into the second half, and they're looking at their bench like, we need a goal, we need help. There's nobody left on the bench for them to put in. They didn't stand a chance in that game against Orlando.
They went as far as they could, including that match, right? Yeah. Like, exactly. It all just ran out on them, and that's kind of what you expect from a 9 seed who just went to Montreal to win when they had to, and then beats the best team in MLS history record-wise. They ran out of gas. I mean, not even running out of gas. It just, they went as far as they were supposed to and could. And you're right. The better team, no question, won that match. Orlando deserved it fully.
The atmosphere in Orlando was amazing. Orlando was rocking.
They bring it. Absolutely. That's a nice.
They're going to the conference finals for the first time in club history.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They're going to wish they were at home playing a final if they get there and have to go to the Galaxy, let's say. They're going to wish they were with that purple fan base of theirs, which is incredible, no doubt. Red Bulls, they go on the road and they do that Red Bull thing. They get an early goal, then they get another. I mean, they're just annoying to play. Got, good players. I think sometimes some of their individual players, like Emil Forsberg, people are like, oh my gosh, like he's a good player, but he's not the end. This is a system. This is a team. Like he's not messy, I mean, he's not like dragging. This is a good team though. Like, and certainly he makes them better. Yeah. But they're going to be hard to beat because they don't mind going on the road. They're just as good on the road, frankly. So that is
a good team, Dave. And especially if Carabajos makes goals, like the one he just scored, that was a banger from distance too. Upper 90, roofed that thing. And then you have Van Zier, Lewis Morgan, Forsberg, and a good goalkeeper in Carlos Coronel. They have a real shot of coming out of the East. That team is playing the best they've played all year long at the right time, at the right moment.
Yeah, I don't know if you agree, Mario, but I'll go so far to say if they score first, forget about it. I don't think Orlando's going to survive that. Now, it could be 1-0, then 1-1, but then New York. I think New York has an advantage if they score first, just being in the game the whole way. Like they're tough to beat if they get, if they get any kind of
to do that on the road against their rivals at their rivals' home place. I mean, Dave, they're just 2 wins away from raising the first ever MLS Cup trophy for the New York Red Bulls.
Yeah, they got to be feeling that, no doubt. All these teams have got to feel like we're right there. We know that feeling. I mean, we've been there, so no doubt they all deserve it. They all have a chance, absolutely. But we got to finish on a bit of a sad note, honestly. One of our favorites in terms of characters in MLS and all is out. Vancouver Whitecaps are moving on. They've parted ways with Vanni Sartini, the enigma of a head coach, if you will. I don't know if that's the right word. He's a unique character. Mario, you love that guy, though. I know that.
Yeah, I kind of have mixed feelings about this one, Dave. I think it's good for the league to have personalities and characters like Vanni Sartini, but you gotta know when to kind of bite your tongue on certain topics. I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but he did get the Whitecaps into the playing game, and then had a tremendous series against LAFC. I thought he did enough to maybe keep his job. I really like the interviews that he gives and how entertaining he is on the sideline. I know even Steve Cherundolo, when I talked to him about Vanni Sartini, he liked Sartini for the league as well, and he always chatted with him and hugged with him after before and after the game. So tough to see this, but I got mixed feelings about it. Yeah.
Well, I think Vancouver fans that I've seen on social media, and they've had mixed feelings too. I think the initial reaction is always a bit of shock. They probably weren't expecting it. But I also think, and I'm going to approach it from a different perspective, we never want to see people lose their job. So from a human perspective, it's terrible, of course. We know that's part of sports. Everybody does, blah, 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 but it still hurts. I mean, it's still a man losing his job, or, if a woman gets fired in any job, men or woman, we don't care. We don't want to see it happen, right? It doesn't matter who it is. Vanni Sartini, all the best to you, right? But if you pull back from the individual, again, hard to do, especially as a fan, because you fall in like with these guys maybe, or you love his coaching, or you love his style, you love him as a person, and I think it's a good thing in the sense that from a bigger picture, they want more. If you're a fan, 8th place, middle of the road record, worse at home than you were, essentially. I mean, just bad at home.
Got to get wins at home in front of your own fans. Yeah.
Getting dumped by LAFC whenever you play them, essentially. So they're a great team, admittedly, but you're not anywhere near that level, realistically, in terms of results. They want more. I mean, if you're a fan and you can kind of get over the shock and the disappointment, excuse me, of losing Vanni, at least the organization is not like, okay, let's run it back. Oh, well, 8th place. I mean, it wasn't that great, honestly. And we talked about it on this show. With the talent they have, I've alluded to it. I'm not saying that I thought Vanni Sartini should be fired, or I even thought he was going to be by any means. I'm not trying to say I'm so smart about. No, I didn't think that. But I'm also like, they should be better. Again, is that all on him anyway? No, but he's the manager. Who gets the brunt of it, right? You're not firing 26 players or whatever. That's not how sports work. And at least your organization is willing to do that when they don't, when you're not. Now, if they would have fired him when he came in 3rd or something, and they won the Canadian Championship, which they have been winning, maybe they're kind of like over that in a sense of it's not, the end all be all because we're getting dumped out of the CONCACAF Champions Cup after we win it anyway, but at least they're like trying to show their fans okay, you may not agree, but we don't think this is good enough. Bottom line. That's why they did it. And you can take some kind of solace in that, I would think, as a fan.
Yeah, I think it is a shock to me because I do like how he is, his personality, and I like how he's a breath of fresh air for the league. When you interview him, you never know what the heck he's gonna say. He has some interesting stuff, some smart stuff. He's a smart football mind as well. I think the players really like to play for him, and he had his troops fighting for him in the playoffs, and they gave us a great battle against LAFC. So a little bit of a shock for me.
And you know what? And Vancouver knows this too. Maybe it's the wrong decision. Maybe it'll backfire on them. Maybe they'll get worse. That's possible. But, when you're an organization and you put forth a roster that in your mind should be at a certain spot, I don't think Vancouver's kind of, as an organization, is kind of thinking we're going to win every competition. We're going to blow everybody away. They would have fired him a long time ago if that was their thinking. But if you have expectations like this is a good roster, we spent money, we brought in some good players, then, at the very least, again, as a fan, you might not agree with it in the moment, but at least my team is willing. They're willing to make that tough decision because they think we should be better, at least. Some organizations aren't willing to do it, bottom line, and that's when it's trouble to me, and kudos to Vancouver. Again, nothing against Vandy Sartini. This is more in general, but I got to give the Whitecaps credit as an organization. I didn't think they were going to do that. And it might not work out, but kudos to them in a sense. They're trying. And not every team in every sport does. We know that. And that's what you want for sure. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Episode 41, Mario. Been a long one, but a good one, man. We had a lot to talk about, didn't we? Tough season. The way it ended. Great season overall. I love broadcasting. I want to say that, I know this is a separate, podcast, whatever, but thanks to everybody in the organization. Thank you so much for all your hard work. I love broadcasting these games, doing the radio for this team. This organization is the best I've ever seen in sports. I don't say that lightly. Been around a lot of them and a lot of good ones, frankly. This is the best, Mario. We have great gigs. We love it. And I love talking here on LAFC Plus as well, brother.
Yeah, each and every year, Dave, a lot of memories are made, on the road at BMO Stadium, wherever we are, wherever doing the games. A lot of memories are made in the stands with our families and all the fans as well. Didn't end the way we wanted, but we have a lot of things to look forward to in 2025. This has been LAFC Plus, episode number 41. That's Dave Denholm. I'm Mario Ruiz. What a season it's been on the pitch and on the podcast. We'll catch you on the next episode of LAFC Plus. Have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody.